there's no way you can go to. With regard to weaknesses in civil society, there are two professions that I would not pick a fight with. That is a teacher or a professor and a media practitioner. But even because they use a pen, and you know what happens when the pen is used. But you see, even during the MTC away issue, when Crown Board did not penalize MTC, we thought, okay, maybe the board is appointed by people who represent the shareholder, which is government. So perhaps they didn't want to offend the appointing authority. But then we issued the press release explaining the issue and perhaps being a bit critical about the state of affairs. We had letters and communication which we could prove that MTC indeed was found to have violated the law. But I mean, being a marketing student, we have been taught not to favor a certain media house. So we issued a press release to almost all of them. But I mean, that has not really featured. It has not come out. So I don't know what might have been the issue there. Maybe we are a bit controlling ourselves a bit more than necessary. So I think maybe we should also, where there is evidence, I guess people are perhaps reluctant to have to pay lawyer even just to say, I'll defend the case. With regard to the disparity between the rich and poor, yeah, you might be right, but I know one thing, that the country indeed has apparently become richer. We are now even a higher middle income country. But we also know that some people have become more poorer. In that regard, some of us have been involved in campaigning for a basic income grant. We all know what was the response from policy and decision makers in our country. Apparently one response was TPEC. I don't know what we'll find if we assess how TPEC has tried to bring even poor people on board. So these are some of the challenges that we face. With regard to, somebody mentioned the rapporteur in the morning mentioned ITC. ITC apparently, it seems, is one organization that is not regulated, and any business person can put up information about you. You don't have any clue. And we recently got a complaint. Somebody at the starting loan, the person was was in arrears about with two months, but the person eventually paid. And before the person paid, they inquired about the balance, the exact balance, and there was evidence. So the bank nonetheless came back and said, you still owe us $100, but didn't communicate to the relevant person. So when the person realized that there's a record on ITC and inquired, when I learned about that, I wrote back to the bank and insisted that you are busy with defaming people. So if you don't take corrective action, I'm going to lodge a complaint to the central bank. Not even an hour has passed when the bank wrote back an email and said that they have instructed ITC to remove that account. So there's a lot of wrong things being committed against the consumer that we are not aware about. I know that some people can eat donkey in this country. Others can eat dog meat. But kangaroo meat, we don't know. And if you expose people to food that is not culturally acceptable, you are violating their right to food. So these are all EAC rights that we need information for.
Thank you. Kwame, to respond to your question about the plans of the coalition after this conference. Well, it is important to note that in developing the content and the framework for this conference, we made a point of ensuring that it's not a media-related issue, that we are involving stakeholders and representatives from all sectors, economics, finance, human rights, governance, a very broad range of stakeholders, with the understanding that this is a national issue, and everyone has an opportunity and responsibility to ensure that, firstly, we have a legal framework that guarantees people access to information. At the same time, it's become very apparent during the discussions that we will have to be very strategic and certainly very creative about a campaign that will be rolled out hereafter. I don't believe that one has to establish another NGO to deal with the issue of access to information. I believe that the success of this campaign will come from the fact that this will be a broad coalition when everyone is represented and where everyone acknowledges the need for this legislation and to involve and empower communities and individuals to take up the issue. So we are calling on the lawyers and the human rights activists and the gender activists and everyone hereafter to form part of this coalition. Obviously, there are only a few organizations currently signed on officially as coalition members, but that is increasing by the day. I do believe that we have the support that was extended by the Special Rapporteur for her support in the policy development process. I know also that we have the support of friends and stakeholders who have the experience in other parts of the world. And I think that besides all else, there is a passion for this issue, and that is what is going to drive this campaign and its subsequent success. There is more coming. And I mean, this immediately after, I think within the month, there's obviously also a need for us to go back and engage again specifically with the various sectors, because the ICT sector has specific needs, and to just further develop the campaign and the strategy. The finance sector, we have to articulate the issues a little better. So that is what is going to happen, at least within the immediate, let's say, the immediate future. And after that, as I said, broad campaign strategy development and calling on friends and supporters.
Are we done? Are we done with this session?
I think it's my job to say thank you to our panelists for your time, for sharing your expertise and also your aspirations. It is very obvious that the civil society sector represented by the panelists here needs support. We are talking about citizens and people claiming their rights. But I think citizenship comes with a level of responsibility. And that is something that must be translated and talked about more in Namibia, that our citizenship comes with responsibility, because I think we have passed the idea that we are just mere subjects at the receiving end of what policymakers throw out. We are citizens, we have responsibilities, and it is our responsibility to claim our rights, and specifically our right to access to information. Thank you again. We will be speaking again shortly about our joint strategy.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for tea break. Though this session has helped to awaken us, go get some caffeine to stay awake. See you in 20 minutes.